Dr. Love, you're live.
Hello and welcome to the Dr. Love Show. I'm Gabby Love, a matchmaker and love counsel based in New York City, Los Angeles, and Miami. I do have some announcements tonight that I will be working out of Miami this summer. I'm heading down from Manhattan next week until September. Love matchmaking parties will be happening this month in May at the Lexington's Lounge in New York City on May 2nd and May 23rd during the summer break, without the summer break. Tonight's show is the first of the pre-run of the cable television's version on public access of the Dr. Love Show. We'll be doing the same episode at the studios this Saturday with the same wonderful guests that I have tonight for cable television. And we're calling this episode Health, Fun, Connection, and Amazing Sex. The cables episode is also called Dr. Love Loses Her Virginity. I'd like to thank all of you and my producer, Cooge, for being a part of this adventure. Tonight is an interesting night. I've had an interesting day, and we're going to have to change the show just a tad due to the realities of my life. I'm dealing with thousands of dollars of fraud on one of my business accounts, so I have not gotten a chance to play with our script for the night, so Cooge is actually going to be taking over as our main host in a little bit, which is actually nice. I'd like to have a break. So my summer break is starting early, Cooge. Thank you. I'm very excited about that. Each of our episodes focuses on a topic designed to sharpen your loving skill set by sharing best practices and effective attitudes, strategies, and techniques for building a healthy and vivacious love relation. This episode deals with health, fun, connection, and amazing sex. Most relationship experts agree that the most important organ is our brain. Let me begin the show with two guiding quotes. Dr. Clifford Lazarus, PhD, writes that indeed most people have sexual scripts. That is, explicit or implicit thoughts and images of what represents an ideal sexual encounter. Without communicating one's script to one's partner, however, it is very unlikely that it will ever be experienced to the max. Furthermore, some people have specific sexual fantasies that also need to be expressed through speech or writing in order for it to ever be realized. Another quote is by Nora Ephron, an American journalist, essayist, playwright, screenwriter, novelist, producer, and director. She says, she may be best known for her screenplay, When Sally Met Harry. Oh, wow, I remember that. Put it even simpler, she says, in my sex fantasy, no one ever loves me for my mind. I love her. So let's get real. The catchphrase for the 60s and the 70s was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Sex was the way young people said hello. In 2016, we have increased sexual freedom, improved health awareness, and a higher understanding of the need to establish authentic connections. I call that love and sexual revolution and evolution of the 21st century, with the heart and soul for our potential and current love partner. Some have concluded that truly amazing sex is dead. I'm sure Nora Ephron and the panel of experts that I have assembled for tonight's show would disagree. It is our position that not only is it possible to have health, fun, connected, and amazing sex, it is the only rational alternative, and for myself, the only rational desire. However, like all skills, we can benefit from creativity, imagination, study, and application of best practices for both partners. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kuj, and he's going to introduce our wonderful guest experts for the night.
Okay.
Hi, Kuj.
I'm here. First of all, we have Dr. Let me bring her up. Dr. Serena Goldstein, also from New York, and she is a naturopathic. You have to help me with the pronunciation of that.
It's all good.
And she's going to explain a little bit more about what she does. And we also have Anita Teresa, who's and let me bring her up. She's a matchmaker and also into sex and medicine. I'm going to jump right into the show. Dr. Serena Goldstein, what are some strategies that you share with your clients on how to keep sex interesting beyond the honeymoon? We know that no matter how good we are or how hot the honeymoon is, without attention, things get taken for granted and sex becomes less of a priority in a relationship. So what do people do to keep the flame alive?
I mean, ultimately, communication is incredibly important, and if everyone's caught in a routine, it could just be as simple as whether you're blocking a particular time frame to have sex, or even if it's to engage in some kind of role play, something different, but it's just really pulling yourself out of the norm. Like, what's something that maybe neither of you have done before? Maybe you both have bucket lists, or something that you want to explore, and you've also reached a point in your communication, where you feel comfortable enough with each other that, hey, let's really talk about how we could take our adventures to the next level. So that's always a nice place to start opening up with both emotional and physical.
Before we get to the next question, would you share with us your practice and what you specialize in?
Of course. So I specialize in naturally balancing hormones, and as a naturopathic doctor, we understand and learn all the conventional medicine in addition to learning all the natural, like botanical medicine, homeopathy, nutrition. So it's more tools in our toolbox, not just treat the patient, but to get to the underlying cause. So like, I can boost your hormones, shift them around with nutrition and herbs and lifestyle, just like bioidenticals can. But ultimately, if I'm not getting to the root cause of why your hormones were imbalanced in the first place, then I'm really not doing my job. Because I'm also looking at the prevention and later on, because I want you to sustain that balance.
Anita, can you, before answering the question of creative strategies, give us a little bit about your background and your specialties and areas of focus?
Sure. So I've worked for many years in clinical settings and mostly helping patients and my clients through alternative holistic therapies like meditation, mindfulness, hypnosis, yoga, somatic movement therapy. And in the last few years, I've started to focus more on sexuality, doing matchmaking now as well, which is really fun. And last year I produced a summit on sex and medicine, having seen that there's a huge gap in the conversation around sex and health, and in particular for healthcare providers, giving them tools to talk about sex with their patients.
And what are some of the creative strategies that you emphasize for couples?
I love role play. I think besides just adopting, putting on costumes, which I think is fun, but role play, like getting into different aspects of your own array of characters that everybody has inside of them. And one of the easiest ways to do that, if you aren't feeling terribly creative on your own, is you could just go to an improv class with your partner. And I've seen marriages totally revitalized from taking improv classes together. So you find lots of new ways to express yourself, and it can be a huge turn on.
Now,
I'm writing that down, the improv love game.
Yeah, definitely.
now we're going to have some fun. This is going to be a lightning exercise where we're going to talk about some strategies that couples may or may not have talked about, but at least they most definitely have fantasized about, and get your opinion. First of all, if it's healthy, and if there are any precautionary advice that you may want to add. And if it either, I'm going to address it to us, each of you individually, but of course, if anybody wants to give their 2 cents, please come in. I'm asking you to spend no more than 30 seconds on the topic, however. Anita, let's begin with you. Taking your partner to a super luxury hotel getaway.
Well, I like to be taken to super luxury hotels. I've never myself taken my partner to a luxury hotel, but I would gladly accompany someone.
Fellas, did you hear the lady? That is a definite win-win game with every woman on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Dr. Goldstein, watching porn together.
All right, once again, it's open communication, and it's also, if you have watched porn before, do you and your partner, are you going to like the same types? I mean, there are some people who, may be really into same sex, some into group sex, and I think it's just trying to find that common denominator of, what you want to watch, and then that's also a great way to build the arousal stage, especially for women who really can take a while to warm up, so to speak. And that's, so let's say going, and having sex after the scene is over, for example, and, while using cuddling and touching and affectionate, play and everything more in the beginning as the scenes are rolling.
I have a question in the script that was for Gabby to ask me, so I asked me. Boudoir photography portfolio. And my comment about that is very, very popular in Florida, where we have boudoir photographers. They have studios set up like Playboy, swings and showers and bathtubs, and they do very, very classy photographs. Usually they're an anniversary present. And usually my experience is they're with women in the 30s to 40s but they're good. They make you look like a fantasy. And I think it's a great idea. It's a great present. However, my precautionary note is any woman that considers that should know. Gabby.
Thank God. I was like, if we lose you, Cooge, we lose the show. So
Gabby.
we lost most of what you said, but it's okay. We're back to Gabby.
Investing in latex mattress, a memory foam mattress cover, high thread count sheets. Skip the satin sheets. Look great, but they're slippery and they sweat. Use 400 thread count. Look for Egyptian cotton, the gold standard. And foam pillows, by the way, they're built for sex. And platform or buffled or waveless waterbed. What do you think about that? Yeah.
It all sounds too high maintenance for me to think about all that for my sex life. I'm a really low maintenance scientist, efficient, get to the point. There's certain personality types that are really into toys. That's actual scientific, empirically proven. Like some people, it's kind of like the love languages, and some people really want a lot of affection and touching and holding, and some people are more just into the act. So everyone is different. So when it comes to sheets and all that, they're kind of, I don't get that frou-frou about it. Though I will say that when I have laid on something very soft, orgasmic, like soft, like plush, and delicious and divine. Like there are certain fabrics out there that really are. Oh my God, I remember what it was. I had an ex-boyfriend of mine when I was in the fashion industry, my early 20s, bought me a fox coat. It was a real fox coat that the inner lining was lined with fox. And I was a total like animal activist at the time, but I put that sucker on when I was naked, and it was a key. I got over my animal activism. Right, I literally I'd put that thing on me. I'd rub it on me. Anyway, so fox is the way to go for me.
Ooh.
Dr. Goldstein,
Yes.
anal sex, and toy.
That's something my grandma would say. Sex.
Funny. Yes, so definitely want a lot of lube for that. Actually, most of our nerve endings are right in the beginning. So, especially it's really important to help, once again, like as the woman tends to, take a little more time to warm up. That's same thing with the anus. So even like probing it slightly, inserting a finger in, because with all the nerve endings and the two different sphincters there, you want it to be able to relax, and it's not the same type of intercourse right in the beginning, like vaginal intercourse. It takes a little more time. It could be a little more painful. Bowel movements could be thrown off a little bit for the next few days. And also just hygiene in general. So if you're engaging in vaginal sex and anal sex or vice versa, you always want to be switching condoms in between, which also leads me to the fact that sexually transmitted diseases can also be transferred through anal sex as well. It's not just purely vaginal or oral sex. So slow is really the way to go when you're wanting to go for anal sex.
I'd love to jump in, too, and say something about anal sex. So often we think of in heterosex, like it's anal sex, man to woman, but it's also really great to explore manually stimulating the prostate gland for men, because it's actually really healthy for keeping circulation going. It can be very pleasurable, intensely pleasurable. Gay men know this very, very well. So they can actually give, straight men a tutorial, or straight women for their male partner. But, the same applies. It's really delicate, really sensitive area of the body, especially for men, because the prostate gland is right there. And there's a lot more to be said about that, but just wanted to plant that little seed. It can be a great way to bond with your male partner if you're a woman. Or a man.
I want a video, Anita. I want you to make a video on that.
I know a great video. I know a great video to share for that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Do you know it offhand now?
I know the founders, Patricia. See, it's a married couple, and they did a tutorial on hand sex, in both directions. It's really beautiful. Great stuff.
Yeah, when you find it, send it over to me. I think that would be interesting to share.
Yeah, put it on your website, Gabby. My advice is this. One person needs to be experienced in the process. There are some things that you don't want to do for the first time if neither one of you knows what you're doing. So I would get that sex tape. And also, don't look at porn tapes that are for theatrical purposes as how to do it guides. That's fantasy. There's a difference between fantasy and how to do it. That is fantasy. So both in the terms of men's and females' reactions and how they do. So let me move to Gabby. Dr. Love, cosplaying superheroes, historical or fictional characters in the bedroom. What do you think?
Well, I said I'm low maintenance, too much toys and too much extracurriculars start to turn off the experience for me. But I do like dressing up, okay? And I think many of us do. That's why Halloween is the #1 money-making holiday in all of the world. So I always teach my femme clients, I'm like, on Halloween, why would why would we dress ugly? Like, I don't get it when we dress with like blood on our face. Right, like I think all of us femmes, and men too, men should dress as like Superman, Batman, especially if they got a nice body. I want you in a Spider-Man outfit. Like, let's play with Halloween, and I can take a little bit of that into the bedroom. So, like, recently, I got myself a Bionic Woman outfit. And I'll let you guys figure out what that might look like, but it's this gorgeous blue. It's around here somewhere. But anyways, I have fun with these things in a slight manner, But for me, it's about my personality type is all about efficiency, and that's why too many toys and things can become inefficient. So any kind of dressing up with me is part of the what's the technical term for in the beginning? Anita, help me here. Or the
arousal?
Yeah,
foreplay?
like the foreplay. Right. So for me, about 4 or 5 minutes of foreplay. I'll walk in with my outfit on, and I want it ripped off within a matter of 4 or 5 minutes. That's about
it. Efficient fun.
Efficient fun. That's me. Yes, I'd say so.
Anita, Teresa, what about open relationships as a challenging, making a relationship interesting?
Yeah. I've experienced that. I have a number of friends, married friends, who are in open relationships, so I've seen a lot. It can work, and it can be a disaster. It requires a lot of integrity and open communication, and in some cases, both partners really enjoy it. What I found is that it works better for people who have a long-term who have already been in relationship for quite a while, in a monogamous relationship, and then after, let's say, 10 years or 7 years, they decide to open up their relationship. Those, from my observation, tend to last longer than if a relationship starts out as open and there's not a lot of time to solidify the primary partnership. And then they're already introducing secondary partners and third partners, and then it starts to get really hard to keep track of, and people get jealous, and there's a lot of stuff that comes out that complicates the primary relationship and compromises it.
Dr. Serena, did you have something that you want to add?
Yeah, and same thing, kind of along the lines of safety is, when you are in these open relationships, it is very important to, with birth control, sexually transmitted diseases, not to say that it can never happen in a monogamous relationship either, but it's also important to keep the health aspect in mind as well.
Okay, while we're on you, Dr. Goldstein, eating whipped cream, grapes, and other food from inside or off nude bodies. What about that, the creative strategy?
So, generally speaking, best to keep it away from the private parts. Breasts are fine, the chest is fine, but the vagina, which has very sensitive and extremely absorbable tissue, that's where, and can be sensitive to sugar, for example. So, if people are interested in inserting things, not things like, sugar candies or, anything like that per se, because that could really throw off the vaginal flora, which could also lead to, any kind of infection. Definitely want to keep spicy things away as well. That may actually, unless you're really into the pain, pleasure, be my guest. Especially nowadays that there's a lot of food allergies and food sensitivities. You really want to talk to your partner too to see if they can't eat certain foods internally, like people who are really allergic to shellfish or nuts. same thing. You don't want to be putting it on their bodies either. So, pretty good foods, though. I mean, you could always decorate someone's body, like, with cherries or chocolate or even something hot. You could do, like, the hot-cold sensation, like, run ice cubes around. Like, that's a pretty safe, you can put that wherever. I'd say chocolate sauce, but just know it's going to get messy. And whether you put towels down or ready to destroy some sheets, it's up to you. So.
No, thank you.
Okay, I'll take the next one. Sharing past sexual adventures with current lovers. My recommendation is don't do it. I'm interested in your opinions, but my experience is this. As much as you want to have an honest relationship and to talk to people about everything, there are things that people can say about past lovers that you can never get out of your mind. And they can cause performance anxieties, and they can cause you to change the way you think of a person. I know from the point of view of a man, first time I ever make love with a woman, that to me is her losing her virginity. Nothing else counts before that. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I hear this a lot, actually, from men. It's I teach my femmes, there's never any reason to ever talk about an ex-lover. Ever. Ever. Even if you were married to him. I've never found any value in it at all. None.
I'm glad you agree. Gabby, while we're on you, are you a member of the Mile High Club, and do you recommend sex in other risky places?
Oh, yeah. When you ran this one by me the other night, I didn't even have a clue what that is. I don't know how I dare call myself Dr. Love, and I had no clue what that was. I never heard that terminology. And like I said, I'm about practicality and efficiency and getting to the point regularly. Now, I'm not saying that I don't enjoy regular, consistent, daily sex, actually. Because I prefer it often, I don't need to have a lot of embellishment. Right? And so, you mentioned something about being in an airplane bathroom. That, to me, would be the biggest nightmare ever. I don't sex and uncomfort. I don't even like doggy style. That, to me, is an unnatural position for a woman to be in. I know many women love it, and I know all men love it. But to me, it's not a natural position. So for me, so being in a bathroom of an airplane, absolutely. The deformation of no. It ruins all experience. So yes, I have heard. Clients tell me all the time. I mean, I hear about blowjobs in the movie theaters, out of control. My 21-year-olds out of control with the fellatio in the movie theaters, and I know that it's definitely in cars. Oh my God, the things that people do while they're driving, absolutely scares the heck out of me. So, maybe the other two ladies could be a little bit more fun in this department. Ladies, what do you guys think about the Mile High?
I really want to do that before I die. I have not experienced that yet, but I've thought about it. Number of my friends came up in a conversation recently with a bunch of girlfriends, and they were like, oh yeah, definitely I've had sex in the airplane. I'm like, how? How did that work? And I guess it was through subtle signaling with a stranger, with someone that they
oh my God
just met, sitting next to them even.
Well, what they could do too is say another strategy is if the woman wears a really big skirt or something and they just sit on the guy's lap, so they could literally be having sex in the seat without anyone knowing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, apparently the woman next to us was 3 people. It was like one of those 3-person rows.
Yeah.
So there was the guy it was the window, and then it was her, my friend, and then there was a woman next to them who knew what was going on. Like, it wasn't full-on intercourse, but there were hands traveling between legs, and there were things going on underneath blankets, and there were sounds, and so, but it was like such a thrill for my friend. She was like, I was so turned on the entire 4-hour trip.
Anita, while we're on you and we're educating Dr. Love, hiring a sexual surrogate. What about that as a strategy?
I think that can be amazing. It's the only legalized sexual healer, you could say, role in this culture, where a person can be hired to make love with another person and be paid for it. But it's for educational and training purposes, for therapeutic purposes, and I think it can serve a really important, powerful role in a marriage that is on its last legs sometimes, no pun intended. If you're at a loss, like if there's sexual trauma, a history of sexual trauma in particular, it can be really great for the surrogate to educate one partner to be sensitive to the other one and help them kind of unravel some of that sexual trauma so they can enjoy their love life, their sex life.
Is a sexual surrogate brought in to help one partner with the permission of the other, or are they always brought in to help both partners at the same time?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think it varies. I've worked a lot around the sexual healing, in the sexual healing arts world, and sex therapy, sex education, and it seems like sex surrogates are brought in to deal with a variety of issues. So it could be anything from like the man's having performance anxiety or erectile dysfunction, and learning to kind of gain control or mastery in that area and give the wife some tools or the partner some tools to communicate with their partner so that they're at ease and they're feeling comfortable again.
Amazing.
Dr. Goldstein again. The use of aphrodisiacs, I know that's one of your specialties.
Yeah.
Herbs and things. Do they really exist?
Honestly, not really. One of the things, like if you're getting a supplement that's promising something within about 5 minutes, it's most likely not completely all natural. Because in general, herbs and other supplements and vitamins, some you could feel sooner rather than later, but usually not within the 5 seconds. Let's say maybe someone would take a Viagra and feel it, almost right away or, much sooner. But a lot of great foods and just things to enhance both hormone balance and getting yourself in the mood. Foods that increase serotonin, which is your happy hormone, like chocolates. And then so proteins are also, it's why once again, diet is so important, because the healthy fats are going to help synthesize your hormones, and then the proteins are going to help synthesize the neurotransmitters that are involved in mood and libido and everything involved in the different stages of arousal. There's multiple different ways to go about, having aphrodisiacs. So let's say if you really tend to be anxious, you could even have something like lavender. That's a great one to just smell. Or be taking an Epsom salt bath, which is magnesium, which is like nature's relaxer. So it's almost like figuring out if there's anything getting in the way of your libido, kind of working through the natural way to, go through there.
Okay, I'll take the next question. Swing showers and other athletic equipment. Here, I think I would agree with Gabby, which is sex is one thing, athletics is another. And one does not want to have a sexual injury, especially as a worker, is why you can make it. I think they're separate departments. Now, if you happen to be both Olympic athletes, maybe that works for you. Not for me. Sexting, or videoing oneself having sex for personal use only. Gabby, What about that strategy?
Well, I do a lot of coaching on sexting. Actually, it's so big right now. Pretty much, I'd say half of my active clients in any given month use it as a love game, which I think is a healthy love game. I like to think that I'm teaching them how to use it in a healthier way, even because I think it is a fine art that really needs to be mastered, because you can really look like an idiot or you can really you can give the wrong message. You know, when a woman is engaging in sexting with a man, she needs to really know him. She needs to really know his personality type. She really needs to know his sexual strategy type, because it can easily freak a man out or turn him off or put you in short-term category. So sexting is something that needs to be applied very carefully if you're wanting to be in a man's long-term category. Obviously, husbands and wives, totally safe for sexting. Probably, absolutely, where I always, would suggest it at least a few times a year. Like, get nuts, husbands and wife, with some sexting. You definitely can't go wrong there. But in the dating, strategizing, it needs to be applied very carefully.
What about videotaping oneself having sex?
I think if a woman is dating, or a man is dating a level 1 femme in sexuality, so I have categories for all human beings in level 1, 2, or 3 of sexuality. Level 1 I call hot and dirty. That's your person that's very comfortable with porn, maybe some dirty talking, hair pulling, toys, anal, the planes. They've dibbled and dabbled in probably all of it and have a good number of them on their hands that they like to access regularly. Your level 2s are your most well-rounded sexual people. They can date a low libido person and be happy, or they can maybe even dibble and dabble into a level 1 high libido person that's really into funky stuff and enjoy it too, right? So your level 2 is your most well-rounded. They can do well with level 1s or level 3s. Level 3s, I call level 2 hot and sexy. Level 3 is hot and coy. And that's your shy, demure lover. That's your low libido lovers. That's somebody who's probably never really watched porn, never done anal, God forbid, get too acrobatic in there or anything like that. And they also have low libido, or they're just very shy and demure. I call them hot and coy. And if you notice what the common ingredient is hot, and I put that in all of my sexual levels because none of us have sex for any other reason than we want to feel hot, right? We want that mojo. That mojo is what keeps us reproducing and keeping our species alive. That mojo can also be fuel of passion for our lives, our work. We can have sex and go to work all ready to conquer the world. That's that mojo I talk about. And what was the original question? I probably got way off track there with the levels.
Was videotaping one's having sex?
All right. So if somebody is dating a level 1, I probably might even advise it. That would be something that should be a love game that they definitely incorporate at least once or twice a year, at least. And obviously, if they know their partner very well and their partner really likes it, hey, give them a new one every week. Who cares? You know what I mean? Level 1s are going to really appreciate that. Now, if you're dating a level 3 and it's a new relationship and you pop up with a porn video of yourself, you might freak somebody out.
Now, well, let me ask you this question. If you get a new lover, should you destroy all your past tapes?
I destroy all paper. I destroy everything. It's so I would say I'd say there's more danger than not in it being found. Meaning, your partner could find something like that and be like, wow, this is so sexy, but still, like what you said, if a man even thinks of you of being with somebody else and you being a non-virgin, you know, it can be a turnoff for some. So I would say there's more risk in having those things around that are not desired, more so that I wouldn't take the chance. I would get rid of everything with every lover. If you have a bunch of lovers, just keep making new ones, but just get rid of all the old. It might bite you in the ass.
literally speaking. Anita, recreational performance-enhancing drugs, do they work?
I think Serena hit it on the head, and she was talking about kind of covering this topic. I tend to go along with the natural way. I think there are plenty of ways to get in the mood to if you're just in a healthy state. If you run, you work out, you eat well, you get plenty of sleep, you take care of your mind and your body, you're going to be fine. You don't need to worry about going above and beyond, because it's really, performance is a subjective thing too. Like, what I think is a great performance by a lover may just be them holding me in a certain way and being really present and really connected to their own body and their own breathing, and that to me could be great performance, so to speak. They don't need to be, you know, this like RoboCop
Right.
5-star like porn lover. That's not interesting.
Men, listen to Anita. Listen, this is very valuable information for all men. Absolutely.
What about the blue pill or Cialis, or are they performance?
I think it's. I honestly think it's a trap to rely on those drugs. They don't. It's not sustainable. So you might do it once or twice, but are you going to do that for 30 years of your, 30, 40 years of your life? You want to keep popping pills? Like, it's really a health risk, and it's not necessary. And there's a wonderful herb called horny goatweed.
Ah!
Horny goatweed. It's a root, and it has the same effect as Cialis with no side effects. So if you're really concerned about performance, you want to have something boost your libido, men out there, you just try horny goatweed.
Horny goatweed. That is my favorite new word I'm writing this down. Horny goatweed. It nailed it perfectly. I love the English literature alphabet.
I know.
Horny.
Little to the imagination. You know exactly what it's for.
They love horny goatweed.
Exactly. It's not marijuana, I promise.
Anita always makes
It's a wonderful herb.
Yeah. See, Serena agrees.
Anita,
Doctor approves.
always make my night, Anita.
I'm glad.
Horny
Dr. Goldstein.
Yes.
Swinging. How about that as a strategy for juicing up your relationship?
Right. So once again, now, referencing Anita, which she was talking about, like with open relationships, because swinging is a type of that. I mean, you could be going with other couples, other people. It's also important to know the place that you're going to as far as cleanliness. I know places will always have condoms there, so that's always important too for any health concerns, such as, once again, sexually transmitted diseases. But it's certainly something maybe not right in the beginning of the relationship when you are getting, that time to know someone, but when you do feel like you have that comfort and, okay, this could be an experience that you can both have together. So that would probably be the healthiest way to go about that.
Next item I have as a strategy is skydiving, sky coasting, or bungee jumping.
What does that have to do with sex?
Well, let me tell you, I have a friend that his first date is always skydiving, and he finds that very seductive because there's something about jumping out of an airplane and you have to do something to live that sets the adrenaline running. He finds that, let's say, a very successful seduction strategy I don't know if any of you have done that, but
I've
just
done
take
that.
roller coasters and multiply it by 10.
Out of everything we've discussed so far tonight, that would probably turn me on the most.
And actually, Gabby, you'll like this because it's research-based, that they've done studies where they've put men and women in scary scenarios, like, those bridges that could, go between two mountains and it's really wobbly, it's over a creek, and they've shown that they could put two strangers on there, and the more dangerous the situation, the more bonded they become afterwards. Because of the rise in cortisol and it's a life-threatening situation.
And endorphins, just
exactly.
You're literally high on. There's a part because fear that can transform into a highness, right? That's why people that like scary movies, right? Mm-hmm. It's a high. It's an energy. And when we feel really passionate about somebody, you're a doctor, so when we feel there's something going on in our neurological of elevated feelings and emotions, right? Mm-hmm. And fear is the same thing. So then when we realize we're not in a fearful position, we just have that elevated neurophysiology going on.
Right.
Gabby, shopping for sexual toys together at the local adult store or museum. Great strategy.
In Manhattan, and I used to live about 5 blocks from the Museum of Sex on Fifth Avenue, and I must say I do love going in there. It's a fun store. Like I said, I'm not into sexual toys and too much stuff other than outfits for myself. And they do have some amazing art pieces. I mean, the outfits in there are like $5,000 to $10,000 because it's really a museum of sex. But they have these exquisite pieces on mannequins. I'm mostly into that, but it's just always a fun store. I love going in there and buying people gifts. Or I bought one of my girlfriends something for her to put on her fridge that said, "Why do the lesbians always have the best fun?" She's like, one of my friends. You know what I mean? And we're not lesbians. We've never slept together. She's just my friend. Museum of Sex Stores just got fun stuff like that in there for me. I always like going in there and shopping a little bit.
No judgment.
Now, but maybe Serena, Dr. Serena or Anita, actually, you tell us, do you guys enjoy shopping for sexy things with a partner? Is that a turn on?
Yeah, I think so. Once again, it's also per partner preference, and when they do want to take it to the next level. I think it's also a good way to find out if there's any fantasies and can really open up the dialogue. And sometimes I even like going, even if I'm with someone, going to the cashier or one of the salespeople to really explore like all the different ways, and then you kind of gauge by their reaction too, like, oh, what could they be into? What could turn them on? What could turn them off? And also see more if you're compatible in that respect as well. And then just given my profession, of course, sex toys do tend to be very high in just chemicals and other endocrine disruptors that can disrupt hormones, and especially given that the vagina is so absorptive, think of it like, even more so than the thin skin of your arm, so looking for the more natural, when you're going for sex toys and everything, especially if it's going inside.
Anita, tearing off your panties with his teeth, dirty talk. What do you think?
Oh yeah, bring it on. Tear it off, baby. And I like dirty talk. Did you say dirty talk?
Yes, and dirty talk.
I like dirty talk, but I'm so sensitive to what they're saying and how they're saying it. It's funny, like some things can turn me way off, and then other things really turn me on. So I haven't figured out what exactly it is that what the difference is, but it's amazing how some things are just such a trigger in either direction with dirty talk. It's a very fine line.
Well, I think one of the things you have to do is have that conversation, because no matter who you are, there are certain words that offend you or that upset you, and and you have to know what those are. And there are certain words that are dirty that turn you on. And it's good for you to know that in advance. You don't want to be experimenting with the language, I think.
Yeah, it's not a good idea to experiment in the moment unless you have permission. I mean, granting and asking for permission, can't have enough of that, really. Checking in before and after, being like, hey, so I said this to you while we were having sex. Like, how did that land for you? Did that make it hotter? Did it make you contract? Did it make you go more, have more pleasure?
I think this is something you both are hitting on that I need to bring more into my men's work, because I think the women really should master more the art of seduction, and I think the men should master more of this, what Anita's talking about. There is that mastering that fine line of turn on for her, because I agree with you, because I can enjoy some very dirty talk, but it's mastered. It's a fine line. But then if it's too angry or too aggressive or too dirty, then it's a turnoff. So I think that every woman really does have a level, and a lot of them might be willing to experiment with that, and that's the man's job to really master that.
Now, Dr. Goldstein, back to you again. It's growing in popularity is these new, like Amway-style sex toy parties, where the woman, generally they're all women as far as I understand. I've never been to one. But where they have these toys and they come and they, do demonstrations of how they work. Is that a turn on?
Why not? I mean, it's funny because all I hear now is like when guys think they talk dirty, I hear from guys as soon as they start talking to their girlfriends or hearing what girls really talk about, we're going 10 times dirtier and more explicit than they may ever. So I think the Amway sex toy parties are a great way, too, for women to come together. And, a lot of the women I see as well when they are working through the hormonal imbalance and everything, there could be a lot of history in the root chakra, which is in the pelvis. So, at least having a safe environment, which women don't always have, to be able to open up. And it's like, well, if we feel maybe we're the only one going through this, this could be a great environment to say, hey, I experienced this with this partner, or have you tried this yet? What do you think? So I just think especially with women coming together and having that environment, especially with sex toys and just literally having it all out in the open, is just such a healthy way to learn.
Next item I have is a strategy, the dental chair. Now, I was introduced to the dental chair. I met a woman and she invited me to her house in her basement. She had a sort of a hobby center. And there was this dental chair sitting in the middle of the floor. And I was wondering, why would you have a dental chair? And it turns out, especially the old-fashioned dental chairs, were originally, we didn't have dentists that were just dentists. We had doctors that were dentists. So the dental chair really served as an operating table, and they're amazingly mobile. For examining various parts of the body and getting people in various positions. So I would recommend a dental chair. Pajama parties, that's enough said. Pajama and lingerie parties. Gabby, have you gone to those?
Thank you, kids, for a new eye-opening toy. What was the question?
Have you been to a pajama and lingerie party?
I've been to all of those femme parties, with the lubes and the toys and the pajamas and all that. Those are, that's really, women, before, they would do Tupperware, women like to unite. And I met Anita and Dr. Dr. Goldstein I met over a year ago at a networking event, but I reconnected with her recently at an all-women's group called Big, right?
Yeah.
And so, women, they just like to get into groups and herds of each other, and and do whatever they do and feel comfortable and share information. Whereas men, when men get together, it's not necessarily about sharing information. It's kind of more about literally winding down and not having to think so much, and just go into like having fun or counting points on a screen for a sport. It's different. Women like to talk. Our verbal cortex is twice as big as the man's. The man's is, generically speaking, the man's is visual cortex is bigger. So women like to do that, and get together and do those things. Those things are never fun for me, just because I'm a weird personality type, a weird loner scientist type. So I prefer, like, if I'm going to be networking with women, I prefer it to be a business purpose, like the Meaning Big that I met Dr. Serena and Anita on, versus the exchanging toys and makeup information or application or toys or things like that. I get really bored, so I stopped going to those probably about 10 years ago.
Now, I must tell you that I went to a pajama and lingerie party. It was
I'm sure it wasn't boring for you.
It was it wasn't boring at all.
I love the fact that you got yourself in to an all pajama.
It wasn't all women. It was just a regular party.
Oh, okay.
The dress code was pajamas and lingerie.
That sounds so fun.
It
I love it.
That would be a funner party. But you know what? I'm a weird personality type. I would actually feel a little weirded out. And now, mind you, I go to Burning Man. So I love Burning Man. And there, I don't even wear a lot of clothes half the time when I'm there. So oh shoot, I have a client. We've gone over time. I have a client calling in for her session.
Well, let me.
We're having too much fun on our show.
Yeah, Anita, do you like a man to give you a Victoria's Secret credit card, or men to surprise you with lingerie?
Both. I love it all. Yeah. I don't have a strong opinion about that either way.
I love it.
Well, I have a precautionary note. I brought a silk thing. I forgot what it's called, but it just snaps open at the bottom. Very expensive for my first wife. And she took it back. She said it wasn't comfortable and it wasn't practical. Of course, her concept of comfort and practicality different from mine. So,
of course.
just a precautionary note that I would buy the credit card rather than surprise them with a woman with lingerie, based on that experience. Dr. Goldstein, with 50 Shades of Grey, it's come out that a lot of women are interested in BDSM games. What do you think?
Once again, great. If you're up for it, you have such a wide range. I think this also really reflects back to you'll be shopping, with your partner, going through that as well, and because BDSM can expand through a wide range of, whether it's toys and acts and, used to, especially in the beginning of the movie, that he's going to a hardware store, not even a sex store for things. So once again, it's also finding out where your partner is in that as well, and keeping the communication open. So having just those different avenues to explore, because it really is, there are a wide range of acts and toys, and then you got to count for the lubes and anything else that goes in between, literally.
Okay, going to nudist camps or nude beaches. The advice that I have, that I received from my friends that hang out at nude beaches and that were trying to get me to go, was make sure, first of all, it's not a lot of sex that happens on the beach, it's just being nude. But apparently there is a nude dress code, which is no hair or very sharply shaved hair if you're going to a nude beach. Otherwise, that is considered gross.
Ooh, interesting.
That's weird because I've gone to nude beaches for years and years, and I've never had any feeling of like, oh, I should shave more or less. However, most of the nude beaches I go to are populated by gay men, and they seem very well manicured down there, and they parade around. I remember watching this one guy like literally parade his gorgeous body with tattoos, and he had like leopard hair, like this leopard dyed blonde hair, and he was like strutting his stuff, you know, and trying to get the attention of this other guy. They were amazing to watch. I was like, whoa, there's really an art to being nude on this beach.
So, Anita,
I didn't care.
let me get this straight. You're hanging out on a nude beach nude with nude men?
Yeah.
You see how I come with Anita? Can I marry Anita? Marry me on Dr. Love and my Lose My Virginity episode? Can we do that on cable television on Saturday?
Absolutely. Let's get married right away. Well, Robert Moses Beach is right before Fire Island, and it's huge, and it's very private, actually. It's the best beach to go to, nude or not, because you get plenty of space, real estate, to yourself. No one bothers you. And I like swimming in the ocean naked. I don't like the feeling of some tight, clinging, wet thing on my body. I like to feel the water pouring over my body. That's like the most ecstatic thing. And that's why I go to the nude beach.
It works for me.
I could say I joined you this summer, but I would be too shy.
You'll have South Beach.
I wear a G-string on the beach, though I don't, unless I'm in Rio de Janeiro, because there you look weird if you're not in a G-string. You just don't fit in. But there I can, but in America I can't. I can't get too small, or much less nude or naked and things. When everybody was always like skinny dipping and stuff, I'd be the one that would be shying out and like going and running an errand to get something. You know, like going and being busy and functional and efficient for the group, while everybody was skinny dipping or something. So I'm too shy.
We're getting to the end of the show, but this has been fun. So let's finish off this list, and we'll close out the show. Vacationing in hedonistic vacation spots. Anita, do you have any experience there?
I don't know what that really means. I mean,
in places like Jamaica, they have places where they're vacations, but they have sort of no doors, and they're kind of very free.
Oh. I'm not so into that. I'd rather, if I'm going to be, I think one of the questions on here was about sex parties, and we haven't gotten into it yet, but it's like I've enjoyed going to sex parties in the past, but with people that I know. I think there's something about going to some place where there's a bunch of strangers and it's all open-ended. I'm not as comfortable with that. I like the intimacy of sex parties with other adults who are mature and have great communication skills.
Dr. Serena, sex clubs or private sex parties, your comment.
Right, so I think the same thing to capitalize on what Anita was saying. It's, whether you're going there by yourself or with a partner, do you prefer maybe being anonymous, or do you prefer going in a place where maybe you do know someone? And it's also thinking about things like fertility and birth control, sexually transmitted disease, so getting the more medical and health aspect and the cleanliness of it. So just like swinging and going to swingers clubs, going to sex clubs as well, looking at reviews, talking to people. So these are all things to take into consideration before you head out.
Most of the sex clubs I know about require that you bring a partner, as opposed to singles. There may be single sex clubs, I don't know, but most of them are couples it requires that you should come with at least start.
Right. So actually, there's one in Portland, Oregon, ironically, where I went to medical school, and it was Ron Jeremy's Sex Club, and they, of course, they have certain fees, whether it's per month or you can buy certain packages, but especially for women, they're always encouraging women to go. They didn't require you to be in a couple.
Okay. Wow.
They're trying to change things up nowadays, from what I'm hearing, just because people they felt tired and a little too restricted with some of the rules that they were having with these. So I'm sure things are going to be constantly evolving year to year on those.
Right.
So the next to final item is tattooing your lover's name on your body. And my advice to that would be that's a very bad idea. No matter how in love you are. That's what I call.
I'm disagreeing with you.
That is a form of, and I'm not saying that there's much that to be said for branding. This is my property. But given the divorce rate, it may not be wise. Does anybody disagree with that?
Agreed.
I agree.
Absolutely. Dumb idea.
Final point I saved for you, Gabby. The Prince Albert and other sexual jewelry. What about that strategy?
This came upon because when Cooj was writing this episode, I remembered that I had a boyfriend who's extremely conservative, works for like intelligence in the government. I mean, really conservative guy. And we were at dinner one night, and he nailed it on me that he had his penis pierced. And I was absolutely fascinated, mostly because of his personality being so, he's so like, conservative. And I was intrigued. I went through many phases of emotions, I would say, in that dinner, of like grossed out, is he a freak, I'm turned on, oh yes, let me try this, oh God, no, what's it gonna do in there? Like, it was like boom, boom, like, women, you know us, my mind was like boom, 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 boom. I was trying to like micro and macro manage that information. So later that evening, I ended up trying it out, obviously, because that's what the whole point of us discussing. We were having a healthy communication at dinner about it, because he's a healthy guy and I'm a healthy woman, and that's what we were doing. And then I tried it, and you know what? I liked it. I think I like it better with it than without it. I would have to say it, and that's hard to find again. So I actually just spoke. I just spoke to him the other night, and it's funny. He's probably watching this show now because I told him I was going to have to mention it.
It's hilarious. I've never experienced that, but I'm now very intrigued.
Huh?
I've not experienced that, but now I'm intrigued. Now I want to find me a Prince Albert somewhere in this world.
It's the G-spot. The whole purpose is supposed to be about our G-spot, and it was a more interesting sensation. I would say that.
Well, I think you've sold it. We're at the end of our program. What I'd like to do is give each of you guys 1 minute to tell our guests share your final thoughts, but also share how they can get in contact with you or get answers to other questions that they may have based on what we've covered in the show, which is quite a lot, or that we didn't cover in the show. So let's begin with...
this is a super show.
Yes.
We got a little excited on this show. As
far as I'm concerned, this is the best show that we've ever had. Anita, and also put up your emails, guys, so that, I mean, not your emails, your website, so people can contact you. What are your final thoughts, Anita?
Yes. Final thoughts. Well, I think curiosity is a great way to always refresh your relationship to your own body and to that of your partner or partners, and to always remain curious, because sexuality is an infinite realm. Infinite. There's no end to what can be explored. And just because you did it once before that way doesn't mean that the next way will be exactly the same way. So those are my closing thoughts on, the erotic realm. Is just, to me, it's endlessly fascinating, and there's no real. I'm just going to be a student for the rest of my life in learning and exploring, and that's what I encourage my clients and my students to also really cultivate, that curiosity and wonder and express themselves. And so people can find me at anitateresa.com. And I've developed various programs for women and for men. Right now, my services and offerings for men are not listed on that website, but you can contact me through the contact form, and I can get you information about what I provide, including matchmaking here in New York City.
Dr. Serena,
All right.
your final thoughts.
Yeah. So I've truly loved all these topics. I've even learned as well, and I love being able to integrate the mind, the mental, emotional, and physical into care. I mean, a lot of the times people are coming to me with 10 different things going on, and sometimes libido seems so far down the list, but as that starts to come out, maybe there was a trauma, maybe something that happened. So, I'm also, so as I'm working to help boost their health and their hormonal imbalances, we're also looking at, why did this start, when was this going on, and really putting them in the best shape possible to, take on, whether it's another partner, and especially the mental emotional piece of even taking on another relationship. So a hormonal balance comes into a lot of pieces, and I'm always trying to find the root cause, of exactly what's going on through natural therapies. So, the best way to reach me is through my website, www.drserenagoldstein.com, drserenagoldstein.com, where I also have a contact form that gets sent right to me, and I have a list of different packages on my website as I see people in office here in Manhattan or through Skype. So I'd be glad to work, once again, with anyone who's really looking for the natural way to help balance hormones and help with low libido.
Before turning the show back over to Gabby, who didn't really go anyplace during the show, she was very involved, I would just like to say, of course, my website is the Cood Show. Let me put that up. And you can reach me at Qualey Works. The whole point of this show, in my mind, if it's a success, is not necessarily, although it's been fun talking about these strategies, but getting couples to talk to each other about their fantasies. And I think that, as we talked about, as Dr. Love and I talked about this show and its purpose in the beginning, we realized that there are too many people that have fantasies minds. And that talking is another strategy that will make a relationship hot. So if this conversation has helped you to have that conversation, then it's been a success. Dr. Love, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts on sexual strategizing is that it is very much really important. I mean, that's literally how we evolve as a species. It's that important, and not that all human beings use it for that only. Obviously, these days we use it for a lot more things. But I do find in my practice that when my client is in that mojo, when they feel that part, a connection with that part of their life in a healthy and beautiful and fulfilling manner, it takes our lives all of our lives to the next level. It is a real part of living. Obviously not for somebody who's asexual, which there are a small percentage of people that really do choose to be asexual. So I will exclude them, but for just about everybody else, it can really take your life to the next level. So it's not to be taken lightly. I think it's something that we really need to know our sexual typology. Are we more of a receiver? Are we more of a giver? And then often the complementary partner is best. If somebody's a giver, they do better with a receiver. And then they can start getting more into experimentation on the opposite and decide whether they want to go there or not. But it's something to have fun with, to really explore and to really make the best of it, because it can really make our lives, our entire lives, a much better experience when we feel connected to our sexuality. And so in final thought, I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm going to invite these wonderful ladies. We're going to be going into the studios at Public Access on Saturday, and we're going to be doing a shorter version of this show. So thank you so much for being here with me and Cooch tonight, ladies. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And my website is GabbyLovve.com, and it's spelled GABILOVVE.com. You can also email me on there, and the office line for Love Headquarters is 888-854-7488. I hope you guys have a wonderful summer, and I will see everyone back in the Dr. Love Show after our summer vacation. Have a beautiful night, everyone.
Thank you.